Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching Africa Tonight. And yes, you did see my guest in the studio. We will be talking to Mr. Mudzingwa. He is the director of a documentary film that has made waves in the international scene. Right about now, we talk about the South African feature documentary film, Lost Tongue, that is set to premiere at the Socially Relevant Film Festival, New York. The festival is set to take place between March 14 and 21, and only 10 documentaries from around the world are screening at the festival. And Lost Tongue is one of the 2 selected from Africa. Its producers have sealed a non-exclusive distribution deal with the United States outfit Intellect Pictures.
Niemand kan die taal praten. En zonder taal heb je in elk geval identiteit. Of je kan je niet met zekere natie of iets identificeren.
As I promised you, for more on the movie, I'm now joined by the director of The Lost Tongue, Mr. Davison Mudzingwa. Mr. Mudzingwa, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Tonight. So huge congratulations, huge success on your film. You must be so excited.
We are excited and humbled to have been selected to be part of this prestigious festival in the world. We got the news that we were selected to feature at this amazing place, at an amazing city. And when we checked the lineup of the documentaries that were chosen to be part of this festival, we're humbled because these are strong stories from across the world.
And these are 10 stories from across the world, and your film is a part of that. Let's talk about the title for this documentary film, Lost Tongue, a very powerful idiom. What made you want to tell the story?
I think the inspiration came at different levels. When we went to the Kalahari in 2012, doing a short documentary called Bush Trail, we were surprised when we were in the community that most people spoke in Afrikaans. And we expected them to speak in their own native language, which is Ngqu. But a lot of people in that community speak in Afrikaans, they communicate in Afrikaans. And later on, this triggered something in us that we wanted to tell a story about how these people are speaking in a language that is not theirs.
When they should be speaking Ngqu. I must say, when I saw how that word is spelled, it's very complicated. It's an N, an exclamation mark, and W. How do you even know how to pronounce that?
It's a very difficult language that has many clicks, and researchers that are doing this say it's one of the most difficult languages because they call it a root language that came into existence some 25,000 years ago. So it's one of those difficult languages, but it's slowly dying.
So it has been 25,000 years since this language was spoken by the people, the Ngqu people, as you call them. How many people can speak it now? It's obviously diluted now.
This is where the issue is, that it's only 3 elders, and the youngest of those elders is 80 years old, who can speak this language. So imagine your own native language, you can't speak it. And in your community and in your tribe, it's only 3 people, and the youngest of those 3 people is 80 years old. And when they go or when they transition to another world, it's dead. And it's not only the language that dies, it's the values that die, it's the culture that dies, and it's also the whole image and identity of people that also dies with the language.
And I think this film speaks to the whole continent. It's not just about a certain group of people in South Africa. I mean, you know, our traditions and our cultures are being diluted. It has been happening for the past decades now. But who are the gatekeepers of preserving the identity of a certain group of people, in this case Africans, and their, you know, different dialects and whatnot?
It's a very complex question. I think ideally it's family, because family is the nucleus of a society. So I think it's a prerogative of a family to ensure that a language is perpetuated. So if a family loses that, the whole community also loses, and the whole country also loses. And in this particular case, there were some factors that contributed to the slow death of this kind of language, because there came some people that thought they were more powerful than those that were there, and they forced them to speak their own language, and they decided their own language. And when they get to other generations, that has been the narrative
of Africa now, hasn't it?
It is, sadly it is. And which makes this story unique because it's universal. Anyone can watch it anywhere, in any country in Africa, in any country in the world, because it speaks to any person. You speak your own language. You can't speak your own language, the full sentence coherently without putting an English word there.
Of course.
It's early science. That's an ember for something that will come more deadly, that will come, that your language will subsequently die.
Very unfortunate. I will let you know, in my younger days, I fancied myself an actress. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I'm so glad I'm on the news desk. Just talk to us about some of the actors that you worked with, the main characters. I know when you walked in, you had a couple of gentlemen with you. Are they also part of this process? And, you know, who can we look out for in this film?
The gentleman that you saw a testimony that this project was a very difficult project, and it was highly collaborative, which ensured us to come to the end of it. And that was Temba Vilakas, who was the cinematographer, and the co-producer Francis Weshe, who was also part of the project. And the film features more of Elena Steenkamp, who is a young lady. Fortunately, when we were doing the research in the Kalahari of how can we tell this story, we bumped into a young lady who was starting to ask questions about her own identity, questions about her own language, and questions about where she came from. And we followed her 3 years on this journey, filming her own efforts of trying to understand who she is.
This is the lady that we saw in the trailer just now, as the trailer starts.
She is.
How old is she?
She is 32 now.
Wow, she has great genes. Obviously, the new people come from great genes. So how did that go? It took you 3 years to come up with this film. What did you discover? Talk to us about the creative process. What did she discover herself in her journey to try and find out about her roots?
I think for her, we never prepared this documentary how it panned out. You know, when you begin a process, you come with the visual treatments and some projections how it will come out. But this is real life. And I think we had 4 major surprises that came out of this documentary that we never expected. And we expected to finish this documentary within a year, but we failed to do so because there were more and more surprises that were coming through. So it taught us, it also panned, or it built us during the creative process, that if you're telling a documentary, a story of this nature, you just need to be grounded. You just need to listen more to the nature or how the story is pulling you, and then you follow. So it taught us a great lesson that we need to wait, and then you can get a great story after that.
That sounds beautiful.
Yes.
Why do you think this film was such a success? Is it perhaps all the surprises that you speak of as you were going through your filming and your creative process?
I think it's a combination of factors. We worked very hard for it. Kalahari is far from where we are usually centralized, that is in Johannesburg. It was far, so we had to be there several trips, and we struggled to get funding during the production because many people that we approached didn't believe it's something that is this magnitude or it's a universal story. So we had to fork out our own funding to ensure that this story gets told because it's urgent. It's only 3 people, for goodness sake, that are left that can speak this language. So we had to tell this story. So I think that alone is powerful.
Mr. Mudzingwa, congratulations on your success. A very powerful story you told here, and we hope that the people of Africa find their tongue. You will let us know how it goes in New York as you premiere your film.
We'll definitely do, and we're hoping for the best.
Thank you so much. And that brings us to a close. Thank you so much for watching Africa Tonight. We get to do this again tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a good night.